now entering Nick and Mello's hyperspace.
I'm Nick, and I think my favorite episode of Tales of the Empire has to be The Path of Fear.
And I'm Carmelo, and my favorite scene is a scene in the second episode, The Path of Anger, the scene with Rook and Thrawn. I just love that whole moment.
In our journeys through hyperspace, we examine anything and everything Star Wars from the point of view of two lifelong fans, one young, one old, who came together through the will of the Force.
And in this episode, we're going to be reviewing Tales of the Empire, the animated series that started with Tales of the Jedi in the first season. And now they have done sort of a similar parallel show with 6 episodes of first 3 with Morgan Elsbeth and the last 3 with Barriss Offee. We are going to be spoiling the heck out of this show, so just be aware that if you have not seen it, you might want to see it first and then listen to our comments. We're going to be talking about lots of things. Nick, did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Did you love it? Did you hate it?
Well, no, I didn't hate it. I thought it looked incredible. All the characters look beautiful. The animation's great. I didn't necessarily wasn't in love with the characters they chose. Well, one of them I was, but I'll save that for later. It was just an interesting approach, I guess. I was expecting more in the vein of Tales of the Empire, or Tales of the Jedi, I'm sorry, because that was about 2 Jedi. Tales of the Empire, this show's not really much about the Empire, in my opinion. So I thought that was an interesting decision to call it that, because only I think one of these episodes really deal with actual Empire, machinations. The rest of them are just kind of people that are associated with the Empire or a part of the Empire, and then they're kind of just, takes place. Okay. Some of them don't even take place during the Empire. Some of them are a prequel or a sequel, during the sequels.
I guess I took the name a little broader than that, because what I enjoyed about it was about 2 characters that we know that we don't know a lot about, and that they have to in some way deal personally with the coming and the fall of the Empire. And so I didn't see it as the story of 2 Imperials, I guess because I saw the trailer.
Yeah. I
saw it more about 2 characters that at least personally I was interested in knowing a lot more about Barriss Offee. And I was curious about Morgan Elsbeth, especially because we know there's no more in the future. And so I actually liked the title in the sense that these are characters that have to face the Empire. They're not the Empire. They're not Vader. They're not Palpatine. They're not Tarkin. But they have to deal with that shift, with that notion of we're not in the Republic anymore. We are in the Empire. And in the case of Morgan Elsbeth, the Empire is gone. What do we do? And so I found that really interesting. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Oh, I liked it.
There were moments I didn't like.
Right.
And there were a few moments where it was sort of like that there were missed opportunities. That there were moments sort of like, this was like the place to talk about this or to do this. And they did not do that. And I don't work at Lucasfilm, so I'll never know why. But I was intrigued that there were a few things that this was a really great opportunity for doing some things with these 2 characters. And we didn't see that. I think I liked it more than you did, but you didn't dislike it. So
yeah, no, like I said, it was enjoyable. I thought it was fun. They felt really, I know they're shorts, but they really felt really quick. Like I felt like I just watched a couple minutes and they were over. But I really enjoyed it. I think I like the Morgan episodes better, and maybe I set my expectations too high for the Barriss Offee episodes, or maybe that's why they didn't land with me as well. I don't think it's a bad story at all. I think it's very Star Wars to me. It felt I don't know, maybe that's what it was. It felt very like stereotypical Star Wars, like a character coming back from the dark and returning to the light, and being a true Jedi. It felt felt a little cookie cutter, but it wasn't. It wasn't bad. Like it wasn't offensive or like egregious or anything. It was just, it felt a little predictable to me.
We have talked in other episodes about the High Republic, and that one of the things that I really loved about the High Republic was about seeing different facets of the Jedi, that the Jedi were not monolithic.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I actually liked about Barriss Offee is that she uses the Force for healing. She becomes a healer,
Hmm.
rather than the Kanan and Jarrus story of becoming a rebel, being a Jedi but becoming a rebel. She seems to have abandoned the Jedi ways and but has embraced her abilities through healing.
Hmm.
And I found that intriguing, in a way that I actually found it less predictable than other things. I was actually worried before seeing the show that we were basically seeing the downward spiral of Barriss Offee and turning into a true dark sider,
Mm.
because I never thought of her as somebody who was eager to embrace the dark side in Clone Wars, in the episodes of Clone Wars in season 5. I really saw her as someone disillusioned by the Jedi, but not disillusioned by the light side of the Force.
True.
And so I actually, I was a little worried that it was going to be, oh my God, he's going to turn into an Inquisitor. Like, what are they going to do? So I actually liked the third episode very much, because it gave us that sort of, this is her solution, this is her outcome, this is her, the way that she deals with who
Hmm.
she is and how she relates to the world that she is forced to live in. And so that I liked. You
Yeah.
mentioned the look. I think it looks incredible. The
All stunning.
animation was just marvelous,
Yeah.
just marvelous. I don't know. They just get better.
Yeah.
I'm rewatching Bad Batch again, and it's sort of like, oh, it looks
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It really puts into perspective how far
um,
they've come.
they just keep
Keep getting
tweaking,
better.
and
Yeah.
oh my goodness, the
And
landscapes, the mountains, the snow.
the
It was
small
just
details.
beautiful,
Yeah.
just beautiful. The lighting. It's all about the lighting. I
Yeah.
had a friend in animation that said the hardest thing to do in 3D
Lighting.
animation is the lighting,
I
and they're
bet.
getting the lighting, mwah,
Chef's kiss.
just gorgeous, just gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Shall we do the first one?
Well, yeah.
Oh,
I want to mention you brought up some interesting points about Barris.
okay,
It
go
made me
ahead.
think. I I kind of agree with you. I'm okay with the way her story wrapped up. Because I never bought in the Clone Wars that she was an evil person per
Right,
se. I
right.
always, and frankly, I've always thought, she was right a lot of ways about the Jedi as an institution and where they ended
Yeah,
up,
yeah,
and the way the Republic was going. She was not wrong. Uh, it did feel, I think maybe it's a Western thing. I don't know. There's always this kind of trend of characters. This is going to be probably a long, maybe another discussion for another day. But the idea is, I see a trend with characters who they kind of challenge the status quo of things, right? And they bring up valid points and valid concerns about the status quo. And instead of like challenging those concerns or having our main characters, try to come up with a solution, it's always this character that's challenging the status quo is taking it too far. They're going off the
hmm
deep end.
hmm
They're
hmm
committing mass murder. They're committing genocide. I mean, they're doing all kinds of things. And to me, it kind of gets old, and as a trend, I see it all the time. I just kind of, so I guess I don't know. I like the way to me she died as a true Jedi in that finale, and it was
Yeah,
very touching, very awesome. Um, I don't know. I don't know something about it though. It felt very like this is Star Wars. I kind of expect something like this to happen. So
interesting. I like what you're saying about the idea that we tend in Western stories that when somebody questions the status quo, they go all the way to become villains. That
pretty
the
much,
only
yeah.
way to solve the problem is by becoming villains. That is the superhero narrative of the United States.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and so in a way, I found it very refreshing that Barriss Offee is not given that story.
Right.
That she finds being a healer, her way out,
Hmm.
her way out of dealing with the world that she lives in.
Yeah.
Those are interesting points.
Yeah.
I love being your podcast buddy.
Well, I have a few interesting points every now and then,
It's fun. It's fun. Shall we go back to Morgan
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Elspeth?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll start with those. Well, we kind of flip flopped and went a little backwards, but
No,
that's
that's
okay.
fine.
That's okay.
It's what we do.
It's what we do. It's the tradition of Star Wars. We tell the last part first. So
That's true.
it's true.
Nothing in order ever.
Right.
Ever.
Never. If you don't care, I'll start. So
No. Go ahead.
the Morgan episodes. She was a character when she was introduced who I liked. I liked the more of her I saw, the more I kind of was intrigued by her. When she first showed up in The Mandalorian, I was kind of like, who is this random woman?
I know.
And I think that mystery, I love mystery in my Star Wars a lot. And I think that's why I was intrigued by her. Yeah. I think that's why I was intrigued by her because I'm like, who is she? How is she able to keep up with Ahsoka? Like, where did she get the Beskar spear? All this kind of stuff. And then, as Ahsoka came out the show and we talked about her past as a Night Sister, and I was like, oh, okay, well that's more believable that a Night Sister could fight one of the best Jedi ever and keep up with her, and then we just keep diving into it, and then the first episode blew me away. It was so dark and it was so intense, and you could just feel the intensity watching her run away from the massacre, and it was a different. I'm assuming it's the same one we saw in Clone Wars with Ventress, and it's just a different, I guess, section of the planet or section of the village that was attacked. And I enjoy those kind of Star Wars stories. We get to see the story we know, but a different perspective. And
I found that first episode almost like we were witnessing the Night Sisters version of Order 66.
I've heard a lot of people say that online.
That it has this sort of like genocide feel.
Right. The fall.
In the same moment in Clone Wars feels like the sort of the revenge of Dooku against the Night Sisters. But here, because we don't see Dooku at all, all we see is the destruction and the mayhem. It really had that sort of literal genocide of the Night Sister in Night Sisters in their own planet. And I found that really interesting because the Night Sisters are always antagonists in some way. And it was really wonderful seeing the other point of view, seeing the Night Sisters being eradicated. It was really wonderful. I adore that episode. I thought that first episode is brilliant. Really quite beautiful.
I think it does. To me, it's the ending of that episode really just lays the foundation of who her destiny, where she ends up and where she becomes, and why she sides with Thrawn and the Empire. Of course, she doesn't know it's the same people that destroyed her planet and destroyed her people, but we do as an audience, which makes it a little makes her more of a tragic character in my eyes.
Yes.
But just I can't remember the exact quote from the mother that took her in from the other clan was just like, basically this path of, no pun intended, this path of fear is going to cause problems. And we see that she becomes irrational, gets banished from that clan. And it just kind of becomes her motto for life, is acting out of fear. And it really just shapes her destiny in a way that's very sad. And I feel for her way more than I thought I would.
True, it's one of the things that I like so much about that first episode. And it's really interesting to see that same Morgan Elspeth growing up in the episode number 2 in Path of Anger. And when she's asked point blank, why are you doing this for the Empire? And she says at the beginning of the episode, for the glory of the Empire. But when she talks with Thrawn, she actually sort of thinks about this, and she says, this is for revenge. She wants vengeance against what they did to her people. And so it's a fascinating arc, especially knowing her demise in Ahsoka. So we know what's going to happen to her. What we don't know in her first season of Ahsoka is what's going to happen to Dathomir.
Right.
Because all those boxes are not full of candy.
No,
I can tell you that.
Not quite.
And so it's going to be really interesting. I will be very curious to watch these 3 episodes after the second season of Ahsoka,
Mhm.
because it will be really nice to have this arc of the destruction of Dathomir and the rebirth or theoretical rebirth of Dathomir
Right.
in the second season of Ahsoka. And so it's just I kept watching these shows, these episodes, sort of thinking about the past in Clone Wars and the future in Mandalorian and Ahsoka, and who Morgan Elsbeth is. And
Right.
I found that really intriguing.
Yeah, I think the show does an interesting thing where at Star Wars sometimes we'll get a minor. Well, I don't want to say she's a minor character, but she's a secondary character, you could say.
The secondary character, yeah.
Yeah, secondary character who we don't know a whole lot about, and maybe back in the day we may have gotten a comic or a book about her, but this kind of acts like to me a substitute for that. Like we're getting
Yeah.
that story of
Yeah.
that what might have been a 4-issue comic series is now just a 15-minute animated short, and it's really cool to see that played out.
And I am
it
all for
gives
that.
yeah, it gives a lot of context to her
Yeah.
decision and her journey going forward. So
Yes.
kudos.
Yes. Yes,
I
yes.
felt like I learned about her, and maybe that's kind of why I guess bringing it back to Barris a little bit. Maybe I didn't really feel like I learned anything about Barris because we talked about how
Oh, interesting.
because
Yes.
I didn't like we said we didn't feel like she was a evil malicious person, but then Morgan we kind of see how she came to be,
Right.
why she made the decisions she did, and gave
Right.
context for those things. For Barris, not so much. It kind of felt like
That's
she
true.
returned to her normal form or her true form rather
That's
than a different
That's
path.
true.
So
Yeah, I found I really liked the Varasofi episodes because it was really interesting seeing someone who is not a Darksider
yeah.
being forced into the Inquisitorium.
Oh,
There's a moment, it's really interesting at the very beginning of on the first episode in Devoted. Lynn is asking her, I have this offer for you. And the next shot are the clone troopers sort of charging their blasters as if, like, if you say no to this, we're just going to kill you now.
Right.
And that's something that I didn't see the first time I saw it. It was when I saw it for the second time I realized, oh wait, she's being cornered into being an inquisitor. She's not being persuaded. She's being forced to do this. And so it's fascinating to see her trying to survive in the Inquisitorium, but being in constant conflict about what this is, which is why I love the scene at the end of episode 2 when she says, you have one more Jedi to kill because I am not going with you.
That's a good one.
And then she force pushes her and she goes down into oblivion. It was just really interesting to see it where she's constantly struggling against the decisions that she's being forced to make. She's not saying, I am willingly becoming one. The show is basically telling us she's being forced to be one because she was anti-Jedi in that trial. And that's what she was put in prison. And so they assumed that she would become a good inquisitor because she denounced the Jedi Order for what they were doing during the Clone Wars. So I found that really, really interesting.
That's true. I had not missed. I guess I didn't notice that in my watch through of the clone troopers. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it's there. She was cornered. She was cornered, and I like that. I like that because it makes sense that she wouldn't willingly do this.
Right. Well,
it was that or death.
Right. Well, we've seen. I've really loved what they've done with the Inquisitors, and not just the show, but like Rebels and some comics and books that we really get to. I mean, it sounds like a lot of the Inquisitors didn't have a choice, and it just seems like a toxic work environment, to say the least.
The social worker is speaking now.
Yeah, yes, it is. That makes a lot of sense.
I want to officially congratulate you in the middle of a podcast for finishing your master's degree of social work.
Oh, well,
I'm
thank you,
gonna
Carmelo.
do something that now my Zoom can do. There you go. Those are
Beautiful.
all the
Oh,
hearts for
beautiful.
your master's social work.
Thanks.
Congratulations, Nick.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate
That's
that.
just wonderful.
Thank you.
We need more humans like you. We really do.
Oh,
We
I
really
appreciate
do.
that. I
Can I
appreciate that.
ask you about Thrawn? Like, what did you think of
Oh,
that whole
yeah.
scene with Rook coming up again and Thrawn having this fascinating conversation with Morgan Elspeth?
It might have been because a lot we get a lot of action in this, and I think it was probably my favorite episode where or favorite moments where there's just no action. It's just dialogue or characters, really getting to know each other. And I was always wondering like why would Morgan just randomly team up with Thrawn, and we got that answer, which was fun to know.
Uh-huh.
Thrawn looked great. I noticed in
Yeah.
the subtitles it said Admiral Thrawn, not Grand Admiral, and he
And
wasn't wearing the white. So
right.
this obviously is pre. I'm not sure where it takes place with the books or anything, but I'm assuming it's probably
Yeah.
pre the latest Tron or the 2017
The
Thrawn
2017
trilogy.
novel. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
assuming because he's already Grand Admiral then.
Well,
Um,
in that novel, you see the arc from entering the Empire and arriving at Grand Admiral. So
okay,
it's
so somewhere
somewhere in that story.
right or prior to
Somewhere
that
in that
story. Yeah.
story.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
love seeing a slightly younger Thrawn.
Yeah. He was still
That was
intimidating.
really oh
still,
well, I
still
mean, and that
intimidating as hell.
voice, that amazing voice.
Yeah.
That was really fun. And
And Rook.
it was great
Uh,
having Rook.
yeah, Rook was good, cool. I really hate that he died in Rebels because I would
Uh-huh.
love to see him again, but I get why he died. They probably didn't know they would ever use him again or need him again, so they're just like, we'll kill him. But it was fun to see him again, and he looked really good in the Clone Wars style. And I guess it's
Yes.
another thing I wanted to mention too. We get some Rebels characters in this.
Right.
Thrawn, Rook, the Grand Inquisitor, and I really love Rebels. You know, we love Rebels a lot. I don't know where you are, but I think we both love Rebels maybe more than Clone Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I will
Oh
say
God,
that
yes.
they look really good in the Rebel and the Clone Wars style,
Hmm.
and the animation's improved obviously since they've done those shows. But um, I mean, I would love to see them. I wouldn't mind seeing them more in those styles because they just look really fantastic.
The one thing that I am still scratching my head about is why do the soldiers of Morgan Elspeth set the forest on fire? Like, I realize it has to be set on fire so it could be all burned up when
Right,
Ahsoka shows up, but
right.
that is not a good excuse. I don't really
Yeah, I don't
understand
either. What the point of that
why
was?
they set the forest on fire. Like, I don't like why would you do that? Like, how does that hurt the village? I just didn't get it. I really did not get that one.
I will say too. I'm glad you brought up the fire because it made me remember. I guess she was a senator of the New Republic who
Yeah.
came down to Corvus.
Well,
Her
some representative,
some
yes.
yeah, or a representative of some kind. Her death was very violent. Like that was one of the more violent deaths I've seen in animation, maybe of anything.
Yes.
I was very shocked when I saw that. I thought, wow, they really went there with that. This ain't your daddy's Clone Wars, but or maybe it is. I don't know. But it was intimidating. I was like, wow, they really was pretty dark. Honestly, one of the
Yeah, it
darker things
was.
I've seen in Star Wars. Um,
I like that. I did not notice it the first time I saw the episodes, but she shows up as a villager in episode number two,
oh, that's she?
very
Okay,
briefly. She's
like a
like part of
background
the
character.
team of sort of like you promised us that the Empire was going to help, and now they're going to help. And
Oh,
so that representative is one of the villagers,
okay, I
and then
didn't
she
realize
comes
that.
back in episode three as a New Republic representative. I liked her character. I also like that story because it's sort of very much about we're in the Outer Rim, so we are far away from the government of the
Right,
galaxy, and so that's how Morgan gets to sort of control this sector without any control of the New Republic at all.
right.
Um, and you're right, we had a conversation about this. It is Bo-Katan in the microphone, the little
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
recording.
The little, yeah,
Um, that's how we get Ahsoka eventually in the planet.
yeah. It kind of fills in that gap of the Mandalorian, why Ahsoka's there, and what led up to that.
Right.
It's just kind of cool. I kind of enjoy
Yep.
putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So
Indeed.
served its
Indeed.
purpose. Let me ask you before we wrap up,
Sure.
because I know they mentioned before this was announced and made public that there was another season of Tales of the Jedi, and I took that as this is probably what they meant. They probably didn't mean like a
Oh yeah.
literal. So if they do, would you prefer them to keep doing a Tales of the Empire, Tales of the Jedi, or do you want to see something different? Like, would you see a different kind of Tales of
Well,
whatever?
the fans have already created
I saw that list.
1,700 versions of
Tales of the
Tales of the
Ewoks,
Blank,
Tales of the Gungans, Tales of the Bounty Hunters.
Tales of the Special Effects Specialists.
Yeah,
Um,
Tales of George Lucas, all kinds of stuff.
no. Okay, we're recording, so I'm not going to say anything. I would hope that they would do more Tales of the Jedi and that they do more Tales of the Empire in the future.
Mhm.
There's plenty to tell.
Oh yeah, it's endless
And the thing is
possibilities.
that the word Tales of the Jedi, we could do High Republic stuff.
Yeah,
We could do all sorts of things.
any era of Jedi.
Any era, any
Yeah,
era. We could do Revan finally.
right. Yeah,
And so, I hope that they do more Tales of the Jedi. I'm totally okay with more Tales of the Empire. I'm actually okay if they want to do Tales of other things too. But a lot of people online are just like Tales of the Clone, and I'm like, we've had a lot of clones.
yeah,
We've
that's
had a
true.
lot of clones. I am absolutely fine with more Tales of the Jedi, and I am absolutely fine with more Tales of the Empire.
It's fair.
I think that
It's
would
fair.
be I think that would be cool.
Yeah,
I really like the short film version. I like the animation.
yeah,
I like that every season is completely different, that we're getting all the characters, all the stories.
mhm.
I think it's an exciting way to tell Star Wars stories.
Yeah. Definitely
And I
different.
love that they continue making animated shows. I
Yeah,
think that's wonderful.
yeah.
All right, we could be talking for hours, but
We could.
our audience has the attention span of a child, just like we do. So
That's
we're
true.
going to
Sign
nip
out.
it at the bud. Thank you, Nick. Thank you,
Thank you, Carmelo.
audience. And may the force be with you all.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.